It is a lovely Wednesday afternoon. I don't know what day of the week it is for those of you out there who may be listening or watching this, but I hope you're all having a great day. I've never done an introduction like this in my life. Genuinely, I don't really give a fuck how your day is going. Oh, God, I said the F word less than 30 seconds before the start of the episode. That means that YouTube is not going to like this, but YouTube doesn't like me anyways. So, with all of that being said, I am joined here today by two lovely human beings who I have, seen around. We're friends on the internet. We are all part of this music scene in and around the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. We've played maybe one show together, I believe, out at the Green Beacon Gallery. Shout outs to Greensburg and the Green Beacon Gallery. But please, everyone out there on the internet having a day that I don't give a fuck about, make some noise for my friends, Sean and Mike of the Bleepy Things. Yeah!
Woo. Happy to be here.
Hell
Super
yeah.
happy to be here.
It's funny because I feel like I barely know either of you.
Same.
Simultaneously, this feels like a very long overdue conversation.
Very much.
I've been very much aware of the Bleepy Things for a while.
Likewise, of your many projects.
You're reasonably active in the local music scene. And one of the things that really stands out to me about your band and where I want to start this conversation is like your lack of commitment to genre. But as somebody who also plays in a band that has that lack of commitment, it's something that I find very commendable, and it's I find it to be a receipt of genuine creativity and interest to just be a part of doing something unique, right?
Yeah.
So if we're gonna just dive into the origins, the Spider-Man nonsense of what the Bleepy Things are, how did it start and how did it end up being, so goddamn bleepy?
It started being, I don't know, you start out creating music with what you have access to. And in the beginning, it was really, really cheap. Like a MacBook, a really tiny travel MIDI keyboard, like the one that doesn't even have full-size keys, just like little clicky boys. And, electronic drum sets, little 2-channel PreSonus interface with like $100 microphone. And you make the best shit you can make with trash equipment. And then you just kind of keep being motivated to buy the next thing on Sweetwater or buy somebody's used gear off the forum and make more friends. And like, I'm basically Aaron Hutzel and Danny Crushwell's like hand-me-down boy.
It's true.
Shout out to those two. But yeah, like half of my Fender gear and like gigging out stuff is stuff that is once toured with them or whatever. And, they're just like, hey, I'm sick of this. And I'm like, give me.
Totally.
Yeah. So, it's just been years of using whatever we could get our hands on. And that was where the bleeps and the bloops and the weird sound effects came from. Now it's like much more rock band, much more human, or I'd say more analog than it's ever been. And then at the same time, we're kind of aware of how analog we're hitting and it's like, we're still the bleepy things. So you kind of have to like pull back in the other direction and re-bleep and add robot noises and weird shit.
Understood.
We've always wanted to have that like that core analog sound, but always have influences from, back when we were first starting, and that's bringing in like anything digital. It could be any sound that you can think of, or any sound that you can possibly produce out of any of those, whether it's an electronic drum kit or just hand-me-down stuff,
running everything through Auto-Tune.
Yeah. So getting the chance to be able to go from where it was like, again, just a laptop and trying to figure everything out on either a MIDI keyboard or whatnot, all the way up until, we actually have our own space that we can create actual sounds that are real sounds instead of just everything through a computer. It's cathartic. It keeps us humble. But I think the general gist of the band. Really, is just like, hey, as long as you're keeping it weird, that's cool with us.
Totally. I think that there's a really interesting thing that happens, and this is something that I've experienced as well with, Normal Creatures / Sykes and the New Violence. It's the same band. People still ask me what happened to Sykes and the New Violence. Still a band. We just changed the name. Anyways, end of that tangent. That started out before Sykes and the New Violence. It was just Sykes, and it's me and a computer and bleepy bloops, and then I'm like, someone plays guitar in a song, and it's like, well, how about you play guitar at a show? And someone's like, oh, you want drums? Then someone starts playing drums.
Yeah.
And the point that I'm getting at is it's interesting how down the line that starts to change the way that you write music and trying to find ways to keep that core of what it is, where it's like electronic and weird and very moldable, like Play-Doh. You could do all this weird stuff versus like the analog world, which granted, Frank Zappa's a thing. You could do plenty of weird stuff with normal instruments, but it's just, they're two different worlds of writing music. Like writing music in a solitary space with a computer versus writing music in a room with other people are two very different things. So what was that transition like for the band? And is that a big part of the reason why there's kind of like this defying of genres? I don't even know how intentional it is, or if it's just a matter of like, we're just doing what we do and whatever happens.
Well, that's kind of how me and him actually started writing music together. We were just working at the same job, and we had the same passion for
Applebee's.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was
the neighborhood grill really brings everybody together.
Hell yeah, sizzling, baby. Let's go.
Many Saturdays and Sundays where me and him would just be goofing off the entire day. But it was just a mutual meeting of, we kind of wanted to make, kind of the same music. And he was just like, maybe you should just pop down, down here one day, and we'll just, we'll bang out some new tunes. I'll show you what we have on deck. And at the time was 3 songs that were barely even tracked or anything. And then it got to a point where it was like
1 master and 2 mixes.
Yeah.
This is what exists.
And then it just kind of, everything blossomed from there. Just trying to get as much analog stuff in as well as digital stuff and building it up from there. And yeah.
And then you keep adding humans to make the shows more fun, because you run out of hands and brain and computers to do. You don't really run out of computers unless you run out of money. But we can go down that rabbit hole forever. And that's another, I don't know, it's always like you get the humans in, and then they become a part of the family, the community. And then you kind of get addicted to having them. You don't want to let them go, so you want to have them leave their mark and imprint on these little like timeless recordings that we kind of launch out into the internet to stay forever. And I think that's kind of why the music starts to shift. Just like we have to keep a live lineup now because we're playing shows all the time, because people demand us to play the old material because they like it. So then we're motivated to make new material because we get bored of playing all the old material, and cover songs are lame. So you just got to keep, creating new originals, doing whatever. And then whoever's in the band at the moment, those are the people that you call upon. And then, people have kids and they're out for a little bit. People have jobs or family emergencies. They're out for a bit. Some people just, life. Period. Life comes at you fast, and all kind of stuff is being juggled. And some people realize like there's 5 things that I'm trying to make a priority, and I have the capacity to do 3 of them well. And what do they slice off? But for some reason, everybody that's in Bleepy just keeps like, you kind of get pulled in 9 directions. And at the end of the day, you're like, man, we just need to hang out. Like, I just want to hang out with my boys for a little bit. I just want to play. I want to be loud. I want to hit stuff. I scream into a microphone, make a new creation, and then we leave like decompressed and happy most of the time. And there was sometimes fighting.
There was a point in our band where I think there was only 3 of us, and each of us were playing like 2 or 3 different instruments.
That was too much
at one time, and that was just it was too much. And obviously we had to expand and invite new people in, but like he said, people come and go, especially the ones that want to be in the band, and especially ones that are just out to make it as like oh, I'm just doing this for the time being as well. And it's like, that's fine. You know, you have a life to live and that's fine. But as long as you're making that impression at that moment in time, the least we can do is at least push that music out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really complicated. Just showing up for yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
So to like show up for yourself and then decide with that time to show up for other people and be a part of this thing that's bigger than yourself, but is also part of yourself is really complicated.
Mhm.
There's a lot of crazy dynamics in bands. And I think that whenever you see a band of people that aren't really there for each other or themselves, it really shows.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super duper
Right.
fucking shows.
And I think every band's gone through phases where it's happened.
They're only human.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you feel it. You feel the tension in the band. And then it's better. I guess the older you get, hopefully, and the more mature people are, whatever age they are, there's an awareness and then a communication rather than just seething anger until it explodes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the, bands that in earlier versions, things have gone worse. In newer versions, things have been much more smoothly transitioning where it's like, hey, this isn't my job anymore. I'm just going to kind of peace out. But for 3 years, they provided momentum and showed up and committed and did whatever. So it's like, you got to holler at the humans, see like the homies who kept it going. And they're like, it's not my favorite thing, but like, I really had a good time. And yeah, I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
But that gave 3 years of shows and opportunities and growth and experience and like getting your name kind of further up the ranker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to move forward in the entertainment industry, whether you are, like writing all of these songs and like really, getting a band together to perform this stuff out, or if you're just like a session player that's kind of come in and like, well, I'll play drums or I'll play bass for this band and then move on to other opportunities, or maybe, the entertainment world ain't for you and you decide that I'm just going to kind of bow out of it. Cause it is a lot of work. You really genuinely need to want to do it for it to even be remotely fulfilling in any way. And
that even goes for like any like these like new content creation like people or groups or anything like that. A lot of the like writing and not even just music, but like even just like performances or like a stage show.
Totally, that's
the writing and everything that goes in behind that. There's so many people that are working that want to do that. And it just goes to show how much dedication people have to this craft.
Yeah, that's why that I very specifically go with entertainment industry, because it really does all tie together regardless of whatever the medium is. If it's music or film or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, all that stuff. It's all, you really, really, really need to give a fuck if you want people to give a fuck, right?
100%.
So leaning into the concept of people giving a fuck, it seems like as an outsider, the Bleepy things have been able to generate a pretty, dedicated base of people that give a fuck about your band. And I think a lot of that is because, I've only seen you play live once, but when I saw you play,
the finest.
well,
but let's hear them out first.
Word.
Let's hear them out.
I would say it seemed like, everybody you put on a good show. I never heard the songs before. So if there's a little nuance or something got messed up or whatever, you're playing outdoors in a parking lot with a pop-up PA and you got a fucking 5,000 piece band. What do you want? Right?
Yeah, really.
What are you going to do? But I think that there's an energy to your performance that is very intoxicating for people that are going out to see live music, and sometimes it could be hard performing in a situation like that, which this is no shade towards the Green Beacon. Again, I love you guys, but like you're playing outdoors, it's a hot day. It's maybe not like the most like dramatically attended event, right? Yeah. And like the people that are there, sometimes if they don't know who you are and they're there and nobody else is there, they don't know the fucking bands. As an attendee, they're like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
And then you, as an entertainer, you got to be like, I'm about to tell you why the fuck you're here.
I'm going to pull you back. I'm going to magnetize you to this shit right here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make eye contact. I'm going to get you dancing. We get like, Sometimes it works, and sometimes it don't. You know,
all you can fucking do is try.
Yeah.
So, Sean,
100%.
I'm really curious because like you are a very active, unapologetic front person in the Bleepy things, and
My shoulders can attest to that.
Chaos.
So, where does that chaos come from?
Big Gemini energy. Naturally, you know, like I'm super low key until I'm not, and then I'm super on, and then I just like deplete my battery, and then
He's a
Cool
wind up
back
toy.
down.
We all 5 of us get back there and we all wind up the crank, and then
I go bananas,
and then he goes.
and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like meditate and take a nap and like eat some snacks and snuggle my puppy, you know.
Totally.
Mhm.
With so prior, and this is specifically for you, Sean, right now, because I want to dig more into this chaotic energy.
Jesus.
Good luck.
Prior to the Bleepy things, had you ever performed live? Were you in any other bands that were like playing out?
No. So my dad was in a band when I was a little kid, and I watched my uncles and my dad's cousins and close friends. They all played like classic rock, cover songs, all that. So I was surrounded by gear that I wasn't allowed to touch. And that drove me crazy because they were like, oh, don't break it. You don't know how to play it. Like, you can't touch it. And I was like,
Wow.
So then when I was like 10, I started playing saxophone, and then I started being allowed to touch more instruments. So like, you know, a little band, marching band, you do that whole like little
Yeah, I got you.
loop
Yeah.
of whatever you do, whatever music is available to you based on where you grow up, where you go to school, whatever. So I tried to do, wasn't super. I definitely, when I got to music school, found myself brutally unprepared. But by the time I got to music school, that kind of kicked me into like counting, knowing all my scales, understanding chords, music theory, aural theory, this. And then I was just like, okay, classical music's kind of beat for me because I play saxophone. Jazz is bananas, which is still like a fun thing to do on the side and like challenge your brain, and like it's like philosophy of music but practical. But rock music and like ska and punk, and that's where my heart like thrives.
Understood.
And I needed an outlet, so you have to make an outlet.
You know, so then you find this outlet and you start playing shows. We'll say so. Did you find yourself being like really comfortable on stage from the jump, or did it take some time to kind of become the Tasmanian devil that you are now?
Comfort.
Do you still find that you're not comfortable, and maybe the Tasmanian devil is a distraction from the discomfort?
At this point, I'm pretty comfy. I have to say.
You look comfy, bro.
Thank you. Yeah. In the beginning, it was definitely anxiety inducing, but it wasn't so much about, I don't know, when you're first in a band, there's, you know, you're doing like pay to play. Like, let's be honest. Everybody's done at least 3 or 4 pay to plays accidentally when you're trying to like meet people who do promotion, try to meet who owns the venues, try to like weasel your way into like deeper through the gatekeeping pathway.
Sure.
And then at one point, you know, 8 years later, I'm like friends with most of the people who own all the venues around town, and I could just hit them up and be like, hey, can I rent your room? Like, yeah, of course. So I think in the beginning, I was too worried about, can we sell 25 tickets? Or are we going to have to eat this? Do we know these songs? Is this new person we just brought into the band prepared? Is anybody going to be here? If there are we going to be able to play well? And I think those things gave me an amount of anxiety. And then we were all playing like 2 or 3 instruments, and I was playing like guitar and then switching to saxophone. And then like that was anxiety inducing because, you know, they give you like 5-minute setups, 15-minute setups. And you're like, and then your pedal board doesn't work. And you're like, where's the break in the chain? Where is the, and it's like, after dealing with all of that, once we actually had one human per job, once we had a discography kind of established and we could like learn the sets and people could listen to it and we could come back and practice, that kind of made the performance anxiety go away. It's still like, you know, you get like the,
Totally.
you're about to walk on stage, like we're human, you know, your adrenaline's going to kick in, your cortisol level is going to kick a little bit. And that's like the human feeling of being alive. But it's kind of like addicting now. I'm like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to wait 7 hours to play the show. I want to do it now.
Yeah. I relate really, really hard with all of the anxiety that revolves around like just getting a show together because like, and I think that's something that like maybe people that don't or have never like been in a band situation don't like understand, like the people that are just like casually texting you before a show like, hey, what time you go on, you want to get food before the show, like all that, what are you doing after, let's go hang out. It's like
49 of them.
You have no idea what I mean. Like it's like I appreciate so much that you are coming out and that you want to hang and all this stuff,
the love,
like,
the support, the friend. Yeah,
it's like this ain't it. It's like, you know, the 25, 35, 45 minutes that we're on stage is nothing compared to the other 8 hours of the day that we're loading gear, unloading gear, setting stuff up, talking to promoters. Like it's
chaos.
I mean, it's fun when it all works. It's fun when it's done. But in the moment, I am just like, I need everything to be perfect. Don't fucking talk to me. Leave me alone until everything's right.
I've seen you pre-gig, bro. I know. And honestly, same. You see everybody a little bit like they're in business mode because until your shit's on stage working, anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
And if you start getting distracted, things start going wrong. And that's kind of why every musician, I think, has this, unless you have like manager and tech people and like the richer of us are the ones who are more blessed with inherited wealth. Can't afford to like throw dough. And a couple of people have interns from like different colleges. Like, God bless them. We're just doing it until like we luck out for the one national gig we get a year where like roadies drag our stuff onto the stage and plug it all in. And we're like, woo.
Yeah.
Even then we're like, don't touch the vintage amp. I'll kill you.
Yeah. It was, there's been like a couple gigs that I've done. I do like a lot of like out of town event coordinating and DJ stuff. And there's been some rooms that we've done that are like run by Live Nation, really big clubs. And like they're like taking my stuff out of the car and like they're like unpacking it when I'm like, whoa, this is so weird.
But and you also like love it and hate it.
I'm like, and like they're like trying to figure out how. I'm like, it's cool. I got it. Don't worry about it. But like, it's like, and like they're like kind of, they're not upset, but you could tell they're like taken back by like, oh wow, like somebody wants to touch their own things. I'm like, man, this must be nice for the people that are through here all the fucking time.
The highest rung of performer. It's different level. And when you play those gigs with people, you get like a little peek back into like, oh, like these people all have Grammys. And that's why people carry their stuff, drop them off here, unpack all their gear, have backup mics for everybody. Like they walk out on stage, they pick up their guitar, they play it, it's in tune, it works. What a life.
Yeah.
And maybe someday we'll get there. I don't know. Maybe we'll just keep dragging our stuff on until our backs can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm having fun. You know?
Yeah. Knowing me, I'd probably still be there dragging this stuff on anyway. That's just me though.
Yeah. You know, I think that this can segue into where I started the conversation in terms of the, you know, the questionable genre that is the Bleepy things, right? And what I think is cool about what you're doing as a band is that even though it is not necessarily something that you can easily point your finger on, it is all reasonably palatable to a wide audience. You know, you're not doing anything that's too extreme or too left field or too dark or, you know, borderline satanic like my band. I mean, we're not. I don't know why I said that, but you know what I mean? Like
it's intense.
Yeah.
For
so
moments. Yeah.
I think that, you know, as you've been doing this now for, you know, however long it's been. COVID fucked everything up. Who knows how long things are happening?
Yeah, really.
Time's up.
Yeah. So have you like what are some of like the positives and the negatives that the Bleepy things has experienced from like just kind of like knowing where to play, knowing who to play with, where you fit in, where you don't, that sort of stuff?
So I think
have we?
I think the benefit, one of the benefits is that we get to experience playing with a lot of cool bands that we necessarily probably wouldn't have even thought of playing with, and have these shows go off without a hitch because it's just the crowd And whoever's there is like, they might be there for, their favorite band or whoever it might be there. But, at least we have something that might pique their interest. And in turn, that we have a fan out of that.
Yeah.
As far as like maybe like something like bad happening because of that, I think the majority of the times that we've had some sort of like pullback from it is when we start to get into the point where the whole card is all the same genre except for us. And then it's kind of like, okay, we're the filler opener that they needed, or if we're somewhere in the middle, we're just kind of like,
They were desperate. They were desperate to fill a hole.
Here's the bathroom break,
Yeah.
And so we tend to get that sometimes.
That's a good band name.
Bathroom break?
The bathroom break, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
That's going to be my noise project.
And that could be perfect. You get hired for bathroom breaks.
Uh-huh.
Here's 1 hour of a delay pedal fully cocked.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. It's actually the pun of it is just every set I just smash a toilet. So it's literally the bathroom break.
Quite literally a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Gallagher style porcelain flying everywhere. Said you get hit with porcelain. That's like,
Well, you know how like for Gallagher they would give him like the sheets. I'll just give everybody like sheets of chainmail to hold up.
That's the heaviest project I've ever heard.
Yeah,
period.
it fucking sounds sick. All right, we have to end this interview early. I got to start working on the bathroom break.
Respectfully. I need to call my plumber. Like all the plumbers in Pittsburgh.
That's just your stagehands right there. All plumbers. Sponsored by Roto-Rooter.
But I think that getting back on track, I definitely relate with similar scenarios where when, my band, I'm speaking specifically about Normal Creatures in this instance, whenever we get booked on a show where it's like a lot of different styles of music, we normally do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, like if we ever get booked on like an all hip hop show, or like an all rock show, which there's like the two dynamics, it never really works out just because it's like, it's a different thing. Now, granted, I mean, like we're in the process of like getting some more people in the band, and it's going to be a little bit more of a rock band with like, drums and stuff.
Nice.
We're kind of going through somewhat of an evolution that you did where it's like getting more analog, but still trying to keep it what it is, we just want to bring on more people. Everybody's doing too much. And also like there's too much backtrack, which I don't mind. I don't mind having some, but like right now it's like 50% of our live sound is coming from a computer.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I'd rather it be like 15%.
I understand.
Yeah.
I know.
There's been a lot of times where we've discussed having something along the lines of having like backing tracks behind our songs. And as cool as that is, I mean, you just sometimes when you get to a live setting, you just can't. You just can't bring that in front of people because some of these people are very strictly like, oh, I don't want to hear the music. I want to hear them playing the music. I don't want to hear.
I don't want to hear the Spotify version on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and there's a lot of times where you might even know this because you DJ, and it's like some people when they want to see a DJ, they want to see a DJ. They don't want to see somebody up there with just a laptop open. They're just hitting play and
sure,
They want to see records spinning. They want to see you cut and stuff. They want to like feel like it's real.
Yeah.
Even if they can't see what you're doing and you just look like you're doing stuff and pressing buttons and wearing a helmet or whatever, cool. But like they want to see a show.
Yeah.
And that all ties in just the overall presentation of either your band, our band, it doesn't matter. Whoever's using the so-called backing track, I feel like it's definitely a vital tool, but people are there to see you, Yeah,
I mean, people were there to be impressed, which is like a weird thing. It kind of ties into like these weird over the top expectations that I find a lot of just general consumers of media seem to have now. And I'm basing this solely off of the way that my friends on social media interact anytime something new comes on fucking Netflix or a new movie comes out. It's like, oh, like that was good, but it wasn't as good as this.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we have to compare everything to something else that we've seen? Why can't we just be in the moment?
Yeah.
And I find that probably happens a lot with live music. And as like an entertainer, I'm always like worried about like, are these people living in the moment of now, or like from the second that I fucking step my foot on the stage, are they immediately comparing me to some other experience that they've had?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like just doing that to people?
Dude.
Like, Sean, I like hanging out with you, but like you're just not as cool as Mike.
Or other Sean. Like, of all the Seans I've met, you are not the one I'm going to keep.
Yeah.
I only keep one person per name, and like, you just aren't.
It's
You aren't
such a
number one.
weird thing, but
Mhm.
I don't know like why we feel obligated to do that. I guess I can empathize with it. I think like I had a mentality like that at some points in time in my life about certain things, but for the most part, I'm just happy to experience something now, and it doesn't even have to be that good. Like I don't need every single cheeseburger that I eat to be better than the last one that I ate. That's an unrealistic expectation. Sometimes cheeseburgers are just going to be a cheeseburger, but hey, you know what? It was fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes like a band can be just fine. And that's
It can
fine.
be just a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
It could be just a cheeseburger.
Like a good enough cheeseburger that it kept me alive for another day.
Yeah.
When I was on vacation, I have a story to tell about the vacation. I think you'll find it interesting. It felt like a fever dream. But like all these bands played the same like top 40 cover songs from like the past 3 or 4 decades. And every band I heard play the same songs on a loop to the point where I was like walking down the street and it was like all the small things. And then like acoustic and the next block, all the small things. And like a shitty metal band, like all the small things. I'm like,
God.
I'm going to kill myself. Like this is a fucking nightmare.
Side note, I'm not sure if the story's done yet, but I wanted to chime in. I remember I was at some fucking event, and I'm not gonna call out the promoters or the venues or anything like that as much as I want to. It's not their fault, honestly, so I shouldn't call them out. It's the band's fault. But there was like 3 bands that covered Sublime Santeria the same day.
No. Oh no.
I was like, what is happening?
That happened to us. When did that happen? But we didn't play the song. We cut it.
Pulled it and replaced it. Luckily, we had
like another band before you played the song.
Yeah.
It was one of the Snowdonia other band, Frog's Legs.
I have no. Yeah.
I think they or their other. They have so many bands with similar Kappa kids with overlapping members, and some of them are only in one, and some of them are in all 3. Can't keep it straight.
I got you.
But they're all
Shout
hyper
out to
time.
you
Anytime
kids.
I see them, I just am like, yep, and we're here. We're watching. We're vibing. Okay, cool. It's our people. What's good? But yeah, they did it and we just pulled it because
We didn't want to.
3 minutes. 3 minutes of not making somebody sit through the same song again. It's worth it.
And I think we were in the middle of Market Square too, and it was just the same wandering kind of group of people. So it was like why play the same song over and over again?
The Wanderers wouldn't have known, but the people who had committed to sitting there for like 4 hours at a table, I'm like, you don't deserve this.
Yeah,
good people.
Was there anything else about the beach story, or was it just the Blink-182 covers? Okay, that was it.
That was like the least. That was probably the least weird thing. So we're driving into Dewey Beach. I've never been there, and I just see this sign and it says Winklevoss Twins. And I was like,
oh, nice.
And I went, what the fuck? And I'm like a super crypto head now. Like that was my COVID project, was just like understanding crypto, learning about crypto, going down the rabbit holes of crypto, how to make NFTs, how to maybe do blockchain streaming, how to like cut out all these middlemen that caused me to give like 0.01 cent per stream. If I could actually make some sort of like sustainable thing where it justifies me investing more time to make money because we're cutting out as many middlemen, it's awesome. So I'm like, Winklevoss Twins, they own an exchange. Like, why are they in Dewey Beach? Like, it's tiny. Like, what made them come here? So I get into town and I see another sign that says Marsh Junction. So of course I'm like, Google it on Twitter. They got so bored of being rich that they started a rock band with their music friends and they play top 40 cover songs.
Okay.
Which is the first night that I heard all the small things. And I would proceed to hear it all week on a loop the whole time, amongst many other songs. But like they had this interesting, I was like, first of all, that's weird. And I went to see the show because I'm like, yo, this is nuts. I wonder where it is. Bro, it was 75 feet from where I was sleeping. So I walked across the street that night, went to see the show. It was free because they're rich. They don't need money. They're just trying to like get their rocks off and like have adrenaline.
Yeah.
And the thing that they said was, you can't just exist in the metaverse. You have to drink beer and party with people. And I was just like, all right, like deep. Like even these guys who went bananas, like they want capitalism. They could literally just chill. They can't chill, but they could. And they're still like, bro, I need to like go play. And like, yeah, they need that same feeling we're chasing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you know, because you get an offer for a show and part of you is like, I'm exhausted. I don't want to do all that work. And the other part of you is like, do it.
That's the really funny thing about like once you start doing this band stuff, or I guess whatever creative endeavor it is, it doesn't even have to be music, but anything that eventually you're going to cross a threshold where it's like, maybe I want to take this to the next level. A modern term might be I want to monetize this to some degree, right? Then you need to start digging into the business side of things. And a lot of us art music weirdos, you know, we spent, you know, our youth and our teenage and young adult years and into adult years just learning how to write songs and how to record music. We weren't thinking about business or finance or any of that stuff. So it's like, you know, you have, you know, 10, 15 years of experience with songwriting in your hands and a week of business. And you're like, okay, fuck, what do I do? And then you start going down this crazy rabbit hole of learning all of that stuff, which is good.
What is money? Where does money come from? How do taxes work? Why do corporations get tax breaks? That's awesome. Oh, everyone should own a company, but nobody wants to. Right?
And it can really change the way that people start to interact with their art if you're not like careful about it.
Oh, it's still sucking. So that's why we haven't put anything out in a couple of years.
Yeah. So I was going to ask about, you know, the Bleepy things in the world of just like that passing that threshold. Where is the band now? And like, what are some things that you're doing, if you are doing anything to try to take it to the next level, not necessarily creatively, but like financially? This is Shark Tank, motherfucker.
So I think if I have to sit back and like think of like what you asked earlier, what did we learn in years of playing shows, who to play with, what not to play? And you play things and you're like, okay, we played this, we got no money. So we played this, we made $100. We played this, we made $400. We played this, we made $500. Rent at our spot is $400. So it's like most of the times we're negative, but we have a clubhouse to play in that holds all our stuff. We can be loud 24/7. So if we need to practice or write music till 2 a.m., we can. Our neighbors never call the cops because they're all in bands too. It's crazy. They're all making metal and shredding at like 2 a.m. Just so us being Bleepy, it's not even the loudest thing next to our competition. Money. How do we make money? We don't have any music videos. We don't have a website. We're lacking a lot of automated things. And that's something that he was digging into. So now it's going to be like,
there's a whole like waterfall of things that are going to like happen
all at once, but it's money, you know, it's all like time and money and like being like, okay, well, we can not focus on this. These bills are paid. I just got tax money back, or I was just able to sell some of my stocks. I was just able to do whatever. I had a nice crypto flip. Cool. All right. Pay the taxes. Now invest this and this, this, and this. Okay, cool. Once we have a website started, automated t-shirts and crap where people can just order whatever they want as they want it and we don't have to touch it. And then have a couple of automated machines doing like little stuff just to keep people, build the brand awareness, take the labor hours off of us. And then it's going to be like
push,
making NFTs, doing a mint where it's like, here's all the pictures that these photographers took at Bleepy shows for the last whatever. We're going to mint our favorite 5,000 and people can pay like 0.1 Ethereum or like 6,500 Songbird and mint the NFT, put it in their wallet, maybe get perks of like, get into this special Bleepy show or get into this live stream where only people who hold an NFT can get in. Something. Just mint the songs itself and charge like 1 XRP per song. You know, bink, bink, bink. People click a link, the money's sent, it's done. I don't have to drop a CD off at their house that they don't have anything to play it on anyways. I don't have to try to get them 10 million streams on Spotify to get like $10. I could just and give people collectibles that might have resale value later. or it might just make them happy to hold. Like art, it is art, but people like resale value too, you know? And it's just kind of like, now I'm talking to software developers and coders to make NFTs. And now I'm like trying to figure out how to promote my own shows, because if we're going to play shows, we might as well make money off of them and not just let the promoter take all of 9 bands' hard work and not even show up to the gig. And just, we've been through that too.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, where's the promoter at? They're like, oh, the promoters don't come to shows. I'm like, what? That's bananas. This dude's in charge of this whole thing and he's not even here and he's making all the money. That's
wild.
Yeah.
So the more you learn, the more you start to kind of realize how much gatekeeping there is, figure out what you can kind of circumvent, figure out which gatekeepers are really cool and are helpful and serve like a useful purpose. And they are them for a reason, you know? They've been in this forever. They know it. They make a humble profit off of what they do. And you don't have as many problems because they're taking care of so much on the back end that you don't even realize. And I think you meet somebody on every aspect of the spectrum when you're in the entertainment business for years and years, and you're just playing shows and meeting cool fans and weird fans and stalker fans. And
yeah,
it's a whole colorful experience, but you know, hopefully we learn and adapt and grow. Or
yeah, I think that, you know, it seems like, you know, you have a lot of ideas, you're finding ways, you know, as a individual, if you want to be, you know, financially successful, you need to diversify your income streams.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times bands don't think about applying that model to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot more that you can do than just like putting out records and playing shows to make money as a band. And it seems like, you know, you have some ideas. I mean, you're
how will they work out?
Yeah, I mean, you're dipping your toes into a world that I am very admittedly ignorant about in terms of like NFTs and
so new.
Ethereum and talking about all this stuff. Like, I don't want to talk about Ethereum until I could buy a Big Mac with it. So
Yeah.
that's
And-
pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's a lot of other, I feel like Bitcoin and ETH are like old. And there's all these newer ones that are much more efficient.
It's like
and
it's
could
boomer,
buy.
boomer coin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
it was the experiment. It was the experiment to prove the concept to a bunch of weirdo, chaotic libertarians that like digital money is cool and it could be safe and not just like a surveillance tool. And now they're like, oh, now that you're all into it. Ha 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 ha. But you can totally buy like a Big Mac with crypto now. Like I could just send like a little bit of crypto to my one card, get rewarded for swiping it or tap it off my phone. And like, that's now. Samsung has like a blockchain wallet built into their digital wallet apps. I'm like, man, I keep telling people like, oh, this is coming in the next couple of years. And I keep like looking at my phone after its software updates. And I'm like, bro, they just keep integrating it onto like user level platforms. It's not like deep nerd stuff. Like this is just something any boomer, for lack of better term,
Yeah, totally.
could like tap into, accidentally set up a Coinbase wallet and connect it and be able to like buy a Big Mac with crypto. Does that make sense from a tax perspective? Not really most of the time, because there's a lot of capital gains goings on when you're buying and selling crypto or spending it.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just like selling it for dollars.
Yeah. I think that, you know, at the risk of completely shifting this conversation into something that has nothing to do
shouldn't.
with music.
But yeah.
But I do feel like I just want to bring this up because I had the thought and it's kind of timely with what's going on in Pittsburgh right now. I just, people are so hesitant about change. Like you can't
Especially in Pittsburgh.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
you can't even change the name of a football stadium without the world going to fucking shit.
Yeah.
Dude, people,
So the concept of like, oh, this is how you're going to buy and sell and keep and trade and develop like the idea like now, like even before digital currency or Bitcoin or any whatever you want to call it, crypto, that's the word, right?
Yeah.
Or anything affiliated with that. Like a lot of people were very like hesitant about like building a financial portfolio off of things like even like stocks, which have been around forever and is like another whole weird thing. I don't know. It's just people are afraid of that sort of stuff on a wide level.
Yeah.
So if we make it more like macro and really zoom in, it's like how far away do we think we are from the point where people are engaging with this currency? It's such a casual level that they're willing to use it to interact with like bands.
When did you get your first smartphone?
I mean, I don't know. Probably. Yeah, it's probably around like 2008, 9, somewhere
And, like,
around there.
And not a lot of people had smartphones then. It was fair adoption at the moment,
I mean,
but like it wasn't like every grandma had an iPhone at that point.
It's also really funny to like think about the technology then that was being referred to as a smartphone, because now I think about it and I'm like,
that was so
what
dumb.
was actually smart about it? When did the smartphone happen? I'm not sure. Like what counts? It's like, like
Steve Jobs introduced the smartphone.
Yeah.
But I think in the rate that we adopted, I remember not having internet, and then I remember having dial-up, and I remember having DSL, and I remember having fiber optic and a cell phone that does like 5G.
Yeah.
Bananas. Like I was on the beach and I had almost a gig down. I'm on the beach. I don't need a gig down. There's ocean. I can just look at the ocean. But I was taking pictures, so I was like, why not a speed test, Nerd. Giving away my nerd.
I think it all just
it's coming out.
I think a lot of it has to do with just public accessibility, really. I mean, like you said, it's like when did you get your first smartphone, and how was the transition from something like a Motorola Razr or something to say like a Galaxy or like an iPhone or something
that can zoom 100 times and do infrared night shots.
Yeah.
In your pocket, casually. It's your personal communicator.
It's the accessibility is never going to be easy, but it's like if you make it easy for people, the people will follow. At least I think so.
If it's not complicated for them, like people do tap tickets at shows now. Like you walk into Stage AE or like a Live Nation show, you pull up your little QR code and they scan your phone. Everybody has their phone on them.
Yeah.
And I think the apps are going to get more and more integrated. And like you already see, you can buy crypto on like Cash App and Venmo. Everybody has Cash App and Venmo. Is it the best place to be able to like buy and transfer your crypto to safer places or whatever? No. But it's super easy for anybody who already has that platform because their mom sent them $40 earlier.
Yeah.
That if they did want to engage, or if they did want to do a crypto payment, or if they did want to take advantage of that, they could. It's already just going to be like the default in 10 years.
I think there needs to be an easier, more digestible language around what crypto actually is and blockchain and all
digital
this stuff.
Asset is the better term.
Yeah.
Because it's just like something like gold or something like a stock that has value, that is a thing. But that's the more, I think crypto is like everybody's, it's all about puzzles and secrets, and like kind of, so people don't steal your money, and so people don't print money out of thin air, and people don't just inflate things for no reason. Inflation. But at the end of the day, it's all just like digital money. And we use digital money now. Like I don't get paid in cash. They drop it into my bank account. We're already dealing with digital assets.
Totally.
It's just what is backing the digital asset, I think.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what's going to shift in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, it's just how we interact with everything on a consumer level. We'll just adapt to it. It's like COVID had tap to pay. You couldn't spend cash anymore because it was dirty, and like people would get sick if they touched it.
Because it was dirty.
I mean, cash has been gross. I've been getting sweaty boob money when I worked at Sandcastle like my whole life. It's disgusting. And it's like wet and moist. And you're like, I want to take this $20. And like, you have to. It's legal tender. And you're like, all right, back to whatever. Sorry.
The nerd out.
Gross.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. It's something that, I'm by default a curious person, and I could be curious about things that I have like no interest in, but I'm still curious about it. Because I genuinely have like no interest in this thing happening.
Yeah.
But I also fully understand that it probably is going to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of things happen in reality that I have no interest in, but you need to adapt.
Every
Being
day.
a fucking adult.
Every day. Yeah.
It's just like...
Correct. I couldn't give a shit about Bitcoin when people told me to buy it in like 2013. And I hate myself because I could just be I could just be like a rich person playing rock and roll person and just, you know, like imagine
you're in fucking Dewey Beach or whatever,
bro,
throwing
put the
3
cheat-
shows.
put the
small things.
Yeah. Put the cheat codes into Grand Theft Auto, but your real life for like unlimited money. And like, what could you do if you had an open sandbox?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I need that to be happy. It's just, you know, had I had that, would I have taken so long to like, would I still be playing in Pittsburgh? Would we have toured already? Because I could afford a tour van and gas for it. And if people didn't show up, who cares? We're having fun. We're just going on vacation.
Yeah, it's fun because if we relate it to like band shit in like a weird roundabout way for me to just get this conversation back on track music. I mean, as a musician, and you've probably experienced this as well, is just like the adaptation of where society has gone, social media and all this stuff, and like going through that phase of like, does my band really need an Instagram account? To like, you're a fucking idiot if your band doesn't have an Instagram account. Like at first, it didn't make sense.
Why pictures for music?
Yeah.
Why? But people love Insta, bro. People live on Insta. And then you get the reels, and there's your music, and then you get the videos, and there's a little cut of you advertising. And then it's sweet.
But it like completely changes the way that you need to interface as a musician. And in some ways, it's changed what popular music is. Like, it's really rare now to hear a song on the radio that's even fucking longer than 2 minutes. And I blame that on TikTok. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just like, you know, we're writing songs for a 15-second hook.
Yep.
You know, and then we're writing short songs, so it's more likely they'll play it on the radio and they can get more rotations in. And it's like, oh, you know, as a radio station, I'm just assuming that maybe this is how it works. It's like, you know, back in the day, it's like, you know, we play a dozen songs and then commercials. Now, a dozen songs that are 4 minutes long in commercials versus a dozen songs that are 2 minutes long in commercials, they're playing more commercials, so they get more money.
Versus them playing Stairway to Heaven just to take a bathroom break.
Yeah, well, I mean, DVE is still going to be DVE. That's a very Pittsburgh thing to say. I'm really curious about this, right?
But you're not wrong.
What will the dads listen to, man?
Okay, I want to know. All right. Okay, so when I was a child, I'm going to be just really rough here about the years. When I was a child, they would play Led Zeppelin on WDVE.
Yeah.
At that point, those songs were like 25, maybe 30 years old.
Yeah.
Now at this point in my life, Korn songs are 25, 30 years old. I want to know when they're going to start playing Korn on DVE. I want to know I want to know when classic rock
is
going to phase. Like, is classic rock only going to be music that existed between the mid 60s and mid 80s forever, or is it going to transition at some point?
I very much believe it's that time period of like the 1960s all the way up to like maybe the 80s. That whole decade is just what everybody just classifies as classic rock. And I think DVE has just turned into a point where that's what their audience listens to DVE because for that. So you're never going to change that. I mean, the X, on the other hand, they play alternative stuff, a lot of newer stuff as well. And I salute them to that.
Heavy metal, like 21 Pilots and Imagine Dragons.
Yeah. But you got to get to a point where like even like some of the serious channels, like Sirius XM, or just, I mean, even like Spotify or Apple Music, like they still have just classic rock stations or something like that. What's in them? Stuff from 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think that's just gonna stay as like its own thing. Because like you say 2K and today, well, that's 2 decades now. You know, what the music that happened over the past decade is not like the music that happened in the first decade. And you got, that's the problem with, growing old with music, is that, it's all going to change whether people like it or not. And to slap a label like classic rock on it, and when is that going to fade out? It's never going to.
Well, that's the thing that's so silly to me about people that are like, well, like rock music isn't rock music anymore. Hip hop's not what I remember it being. And it's like,
None of it.
My brother in Christ. All of this stuff is so young in the course of history.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be generous, like the concept of rock and roll is maybe a century old, maybe.
Mhm.
But like, really, like if you start getting into like, you know, like all the blues stuff that eventually turned into like what rock would become, wasn't that long.
Yeah.
And even before all of that stuff, like pop culture and consumerism of music wasn't really a thing until 50s, 60s, Beatles, all that stuff really blew
Mhm.
up, right? So now we're talking maybe about, 70-ish years of this being a thing where it's like, we digest this all the time and we're starting to put genre, like putting multiple different genres on different kinds of guitar-based music is even younger.
Yeah.
So now, as time goes on, who's to say like what a particular genre of music should be?
Yeah.
It just blows my mind.
A good question that I would ask you then is, do you consider Greta Van Fleet classic rock?
I mean, if you were to ask me what kind of music Greta Van Fleet was, I would just say they were a rock band. I would
Mhm.
never say that they were a classic rock band. But
Mhm.
if you ask me that question, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, they're styled like a classic, like, I guess, yeah. So yeah, they are
A
styled
modern
like-
classic
Exactly.
rock band.
because like
Yeah.
my brain has definitely been tuned to think that like, Led Zeppelin is
Is
classic
classic
rock
rock.
and
Yeah.
Korn is not classic rock,
Yeah.
right? But like how, I mean,
when does
okay,
it become the oldies? When does something?
when is new metal not new anymore?
yeah. When is it old metal?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What is old metal?
Yeah, and like
Classic new metal.
it's an interesting thing, and it's
Yeah.
like these labels and the attachments on that we put onto things, not really considering like what the future of music's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see, like, I don't know, I'll probably be around in another 20 years
Yeah.
when the
I hope.
first Korn album is 50 years old.
Jesus Christ.
God.
To think
what
of
is
that,
what is
bro.
music going to look like? What's
We're
it
going to throw in the
sound
oldies
like?
and it's follow the leader.
Because it's interesting because in like a lot of ways, a lot of things haven't changed.
Yeah.
You know
what
We're
I
still
mean?
playing guitars that
There's-
they played at Woodstock. And
You know-
people want to pay $7,000 for them now.
Totally.
That's
and,
the
and there's still bands that sound like Led Zeppelin, like Greta
Yeah.
Van Fleet, and there's
Mhm.
still, bands that sound like Metallica or whoever. There's bands that sound like Korn still. Korn still sounds like Korn.
Yeah.
They're still around. But it's like, I'm curious. I don't know. I just, because a lot hasn't changed, but like socially things change.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I guess I thought of classic rock as the music my dad listened to. But now it's like, if you listen to what new dads are listening to, it's all pop punk. Like that's like
Yeah.
the new dad. Because everybody that was kind of social and weird and fun in a segment of humanity listened to pop punk and went to pop punk shows. So they met other people that were kind of social and fun enough to go out to pop punk concerts. And then they recreated. And now they have a tiny little punk.
Yeah.
And now they still listen to the stuff they like and the stuff that sounds like the stuff they like. And then whatever else they've evolved into listening to, which is still Blink 182
Yeah.
on a loop.
I mean,
Oh,
Green Day, Blink. I mean, they've all been around since what, the 90s?
Yeah.
And so, like,
41.
that was almost 30 years ago now. And it's like, brand new, like you said, brand new dads, such as myself, just listening to all these
Hey,
all these,
Congrats.
thank you.
it's a beautiful thing, life.
He, that's all my little one, both of them really, that's all they want to listen to is either like 2010 EDM or 90s punk and metal, it's like, and then to me, like, oh yeah, it's classics. And then you turn to somebody and be like, oh, well, what's classic rock to you? Be like, oh, well, it's still the 60s and 70s to me,
Uh-huh.
So
Interesting.
Your perspective changes. Everybody's, I don't know. I can't believe, but to me, like the oldies is like, my girl, my girl,
Uh-huh.
my girl. Now, like Earth, Wind, and Fire is kind of like oldies.
Hell yeah.
Not that I was totally conceived to
yeah, only
disco,
because
but
it's a TikTok trend too now.
yeah, but it's just like, that's at one point does nobody really listen to that music because it's just too old, that it's like not even been in popular culture enough that the handful of weirdos who like obsess over Bob Dylan and Bob Dylan's still super popular, but not when Bob Dylan was 30, 40, not.
Yeah, I mean,
everything has like a maximum saturation arc, and then it goes down from there.
Just wait until Bob Dylan's in Stranger Things season 5.
I was about
You
to
called it. You called it now. Just crazy
He's gonna
Spotify streams.
serenade the Demogorgon with a harmonica.
Just tells it a story, but to music.
But yeah, even to that point, like, you brought up Stranger Things. I mean, look at Metallica right now. I mean, the Master of Puppets hit like top 100, and I forget. It was like Billboard's like most relevant something or other. But and then you have all these kids playing Master of Puppets on the guitar now, and I'm just like, I covered that song 10 years ago.
Nobody cared.
And no one cared.
Nobody liked my TikTok.
One little kid on a stupid show brings it right back up to popularity. And now all these kids that are, I don't know if it's, I mean, it could be anybody that watches the show, but it's the fact that they brought Master of Puppets and Kate Bush to bring those two songs back to relevancy. And now it's like, I've been listening to the songs forever. Now all of a sudden it's like a trend. Like, why?
But hopefully that's what puts a couple of kids onto Metallica, and that's what puts a couple of kids onto like going and digging through these archive albums. And
I saw a really funny meme earlier today, actually, that was like talking about like, it's like all these people want to gatekeep like Kate Bush and Metallica and act like they didn't get their entire music taste from the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack.
That's how our band became.
That's our band.
That's our band.
That is our band.
Yeah, it's funny, but I think I totally get it. That goes back to like what I was talking about in a way with people. They're like, oh, this isn't as like good as the thing I experienced before, and it's like, oh, like, you can't listen to this because I listened to it before you listened to it. And it's just like, it's like, just be happy
someone else likes
are listening to anything. Be happy that people give a fuck about anything. Be happy that you live in a world where there's still people that want to give something like Kate Bush or Metallica a chance.
Yeah.
Because they could have easily put fucking Imagine Dragons in Stranger Things.
1,000%.
They could have easily done
good for them. God bless them. But like, it's like they're kind of like, I feel like they get hate like Nickelback, but at least they're better than Nickelback.
Have you heard Nickelback?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They're super successful. They make a lot more money than us. Who are we to talk shit? But
I
Animals is still the best banger they have.
I saw them live for no reason, and I think because they were, I forget who was opening for them. I think it was Godsmack.
What a combo.
Yeah, it was
Godsmack and Nickelback.
Yeah,
bands that rhyme.
It was years ago, but I just remember like they're not. They actually have some heavy hits. Like this ain't bad. Like
they can rock.
And then it's like I go back home and I'm like I'm never gonna listen.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah, I mean, God. I think that Nickelback is not a band that I am a fan of. Well, I know that they're not a band that I'm a fan of, but it blows my mind that they kind of get the flack for being like such a terrible band, because they're really not.
They're not bad. Yeah, they're just so vanilla.
Sure.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's so white bread that it's just like.
And I think they get wrapped up in that same like genre that everybody like claims that it's like butt metal or whatever it's called.
It's kind of like new classic rock.
Yeah.
Like that's the.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's rock music. It's like unapologetically American modern rock music.
Yes.
With just enough corn.
It has like this this artificial attitude, that's like maybe like, an attitude to somebody that I don't know. I was going to bring up some sort of like food or vacation spot or something. People, if you enjoy Nickelback, you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Life is way too short, to not find something that you find joy in. And if you're a human being that resonates with whatever our Nickelback is giving off, I'm glad that you have that in your life for the limited amount of time that we're on this spinning rock in the galaxy.
100%.
Rock and roll.
To be a meat suit.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
So we have been talking a lot about different styles of music, what is a genre, what bands should be considered, and simultaneously we have brought up a few times I've brought up that the Bleepy things kind of, in my perspective, Dodge is being considered like any one thing.
Mhm.
But I imagine as a band, you probably have some sort of a label that you consider yourselves. And I have not asked about this. So according to Mike and Sean of the Bleepy things, what is the Bleepy things?
Well, we had a previous bass player in our band. Was it Aaron that said this?
Yeah. Funk rock.
Funk pop punk rock.
Funk pop punk rock.
Yeah.
And that's pretty encompassing.
Yeah. And that was kind of like what we latched on to for the better part of like the few years that group of people that was in the band at the time, that because at the time we were playing with a very neo soul driven drummer, and Aaron, the bass player at the time, was just very funk oriented, groove oriented. And so it was a
funkier show,
yeah.
A funkier version of the songs and a funkier version of our show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say we got a little more metally. The band was more metalheads. And then you start hearing the songs get harder and more aggressive, because that's what's naturally built into the human.
But we also
making the boom baps and the bunga bungas and the,
and then keeping with the continuity of the band, making sure that like the pop and funk elements are still in with the newer material. So yeah, I mean, we still kind of cling on to that funk pop punk rock, because, there are songs that we like to sit there and just jam out for like, 7 or 8 minutes and really just like let the music just speak for itself. There are other songs that we have that we're just like, let's just bang it out and let's rage, And we like to have that dynamic because we feel like it's where we most comfortably fit within ourselves and with each other.
I think you'll start hearing like, as the humans become more and more available, and like there's like goals in my head of like, here's something I want to create, here's something I want to make, here's whatever, and it's like, the humans who are best fitted to do it. And as soon as like, I think you'll probably see us put out a disco song, you'll probably see us put out a couple of ska-ish. We definitely are putting out one. That's the next one. It's super ska. Mm-hmm. Like it's a ska banger for sure. And that's like my heart
Horns
is happy
and everything.
And it's like, as I can get horn players around more often, and I guess as soon as I buy a Finale subscription and like actually like write out the horns for people to just show up, read what's on the paper and buy, instead of like trying to figure it out and match up exactly. It's just, I guess, things that require more work from us in time and labor and money, but things that will totally speed up the efficiency of the process of working with others. Cause it's like, as soon as you break down the communication barrier with written lyrics, chord changes, sheet music, yada, yada, the demo songs for them to listen to, it's kind of like, do they learn better by reading, hearing, seeing, or doing? And then you try to give them some of all of it.
Yeah.
And let them actually play it with you, let them read it, let them listen to it, and they'll definitely lean into whatever their brain learns through the best. But I definitely think you're going to see more ska, disco, pop. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'd say we've been recording a lot of heavier.
I would say it's like it's
balanced.
We have at least at the least like 10 songs that are completely finished that are all just like the same kind of hard rock feel with the disco, ska, and funk elements on top of it. And for that direction of those 10 songs, it's like, okay, yeah, here's the better part of like what, 2 years now.
Yeah,
2 years of just work with these humans.
Very much like 2 guitar players, 3 guitar players, bass player, drummer, maybe
saxophone.
some synth. Yeah, 1 sax. Sometimes we'll pull in like a trombone player or trumpet player or something to like fill out the horn line. I might just steal somebody's sax section temporarily and borrow them when they're not working.
Yeah.
Like I filled in for other people, so it's like I help when you need help. You give me when I need.
Sure.
And that and that's another just like trading labor for what you want to happen. And then people just kind of fall in love with the whole process and the experience. And I don't know.
And then you get something like us.
Yeah. You get busy and it's hard to see all your friends and it's hard to keep those like your high school friend connections, your college friend connections. You only have so much time and energy in a day to connect with humans. But whenever you have like a medium to try to bond over, even if it's sometimes inconvenient, it's it just gives us like a place to come back to. It's like, all right, well, we have a physical location that we just hang out in and make stuff.
Yeah.
And that gives
location
it more
could
identity.
be, that same genre of music that we've been creating over the past, I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
Home base, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And our home base has changed from different, like houses to rental spaces to, something with cement walls and horrible acoustics until you build pads to make it very nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And that all ties into the music creation and, going from where we were digitally to where we are now analog and
why did
and
we use
digital.
drum samples?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't record real drums good. Why do we have real drums now? Because we can.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to the whole time and now we can. And then why did you replace some of those drums with samples? Well, they sound better.
Totally.
Fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about being in a band that's not afraid to play with, like digital and real world components, because like I love that, live music is one thing. And we've talked about that in terms of like, you want like a stage full of musicians giving off a good show. That's great to see.
Mm-hmm.
But in a studio atmosphere, sometimes like a 100% live thing doesn't always translate the way that maybe you want your piece to translate creatively.
Mhm.
And me personally, like I don't need something that I did in the studio to be reflected 100% accurately in a live environment.
Agreed.
Like I want them to be
100%.
two totally different things.
Yeah. I want them to come to the show for a reason.
I mean, and also if we're being completely honest, at least for somebody that's on my level, I think that when you're starting out, there's going to be people that see you live and there's going to be people that listen to you online. And a very small Venn diagram of that's actually going to allow, like, even
interlock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's like the
So-
Grateful Dead. There's the people who've never gone to see the Grateful Dead, and there's the people who've never listened to them on Spotify or a record. They only go to just have the experience.
Yeah.
And they're two totally different things. Because the
Kenny
songs,
Chesney.
dude, yeah, it's just beer in a parking lot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a ritual. They perform the ritual. They get some kind of like spiritual fulfillment, let's say, on varying degrees. Kenny Chesney to Grateful
Depending on
Dead.
yeah.
Catholic mass. Still, yeah. Pick your poison, honestly.
Yeah,
but Jesus, everybody's trying to find meaning, trying to get some sort of like answers, or they have these weird mystery questions in their head, and they're just doing things while reflecting.
Mhm.
You that's it. You're just doing things to fill the time in between you trying to figure out the point of walking around a floating rock in a meat suit. Like, and then while you're at these shows, maybe you find an answer, or your brain just kind of comes to a conclusion, or like a weird thing happens in the universe, gives you a sign, and you're just like, or like 9 coincidences line up, and you're like, these are not coincidences.
That was 100% me at EDC.
Yeah.
100% me.
And sometimes that won't happen for very long spells of time, and it feels like the magic of the universe is dried up, and then all of a sudden you just have this like week, and you're just like, what the hell happened? My life isn't even the same as it was a week ago.
Mhm.
Everything changed. All these things fell out underneath me that I thought were stable. Now new things have already come in to replace them, and I think I'm good. Yeah. Well, keep on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's an interesting lesson to be learned as a band, and maybe this can translate to other people in the entertainment industry, regardless of whatever you do. But in terms of that, like, if your live performance doesn't need to be 100% a reflection of like what you do in the studio, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect. And I think for the most part, people aren't coming out. They're not really expecting to see a 100% perfect performance. They just want to have
fun.
like a moment,
Yeah.
they just want to be a part of something.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times it's easy for bands to get distracted in themselves. Like the ego kind of
Yeah.
ruins and doesn't allow them to have that experience. And it makes it really hard for them to connect with people. Sometimes you'll hear like, why do people like this band? They're not even that good. It's like, maybe they aren't that good, but are they nice? Are they fun?
Mm-hmm.
There's your answer.
Portugal the Man is so nice. They're so nice. They signed things for people. They like, this kid got fired from his job at Best Buy because he came to hang out with them. Like, and they were like, yeah, here's a guitar. And like signed it. Like, you got fired today? That's awesome. Here you go. Like, like just like, hell yeah. Just like rock and roll, And when we heard Feel It Still, like live, it didn't sound nearly as bombastic as like the hit on the radio does, but they were doing it live. So there wasn't all this like sub on the bass. And there was like some elements that were definitely like,
oh, sure. You can't have that fucking like crazy tight, dry drum sound in a live room.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's like the entire aesthetic of that song.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a lot more reverb, a lot more live, things, but it was still a banger. People still like went out, but you can tell as soon as it started, everybody was just like, we came here to hear this one song. Like they were all like packed out in a Dick's Sporting Goods or Public Lands parking lot, like shoulder to shoulder, waiting for this singular song to play. And then it was a song. Yeah. It was pretty good.
Yeah. It was definitely Feel It Still.
Yeah, it was Feel It Still. Yeah, totally. They totally sang all the words. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And then they hung out after and were just the nicest people. Like the show was a banger. All their other songs were good. I just didn't know them. It's just like I was the guilty party of like going to see a show of a band I've never really listened to. I was just like, hell yeah, you want to pay us money to come play on a big stage with people who won awards? Yeah. Yes. Sold. Period. Like, we'll be there. I would have done it for free. Shh, don't tell anybody. Rent's still expensive.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, as we're rounding the station here, getting towards the end of the conversation, the last question that I'm going to ask is going to be regarding this material that you have said that you've recorded, that you're sitting on. What's the fucking plan, gentlemen?
Well, honestly, we're just waiting for a break, honestly. I mean, really just everybody's lives have been so chaotic with either us actually playing shows over the summer, trying to recoup from two years of pandemic. And we've been expanding a lot of things at our home base in order to be able to write and record these songs, as well as trying to produce them to a point that we're actually happy with.
How do you time align drums? We can do that now.
Yeah. And
instead of pain? Yeah. Is it doable? Yeah. Now with dining vocals? Yeah.
Finding a lot of other like producers and whatnot to work with us has been a real treat, and trying to help us, I guess, move the train down the line, as in trying to, again, we were talking about financial places and whatnot, and getting to a point where our band is almost self-sufficient to the point where we write and record stuff at the studio and it's out within a few weeks, because all five of us have been putting in time to make sure that we're at the studio or wherever we are, laying down these tracks, mixing them, mastering them, and then getting them to a point where, we feel comfortable. And I think that now that we have that, I think it's just full speed ahead to start pumping some things out.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing whatever the finished product ends up being of whatever's in your chaotic minds in terms of like the studio representation of like what I have seen and heard live, just because I could tell there's a lot of ideas. And again, in a live environment, it's not always coming out because you are limited to the human experience in that moment, right?
Yeah, of course.
But, I'm really curious to see what happens when you got, I don't know, unlimited tracks and a few extra friends in the room.
Bananas.
It is bananas. I think as far as material goes, I think this most recent stuff is probably the most representative as us now and on stage, as much as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because the chaos and the fun that we have up on stage, I think really translates well to these songs. And I think that's going to come through speakers, headphones, however you listen to it.
Well, yeah, that's great. I mean, it takes time to find your voice as a band. It's always really interesting to me whenever friends will be like, hey, started up a new project with such and such. And then, they're playing shows 2 weeks later. And then, 4 weeks later, they have an EP out. And it's like, y'all are my homies, but I could tell you've been working on this for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like it really it shows.
reflects.
But
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes
do what you
have-
want to do.
Sometimes you have to just do it
Yeah,
and get
yeah.
started, and then you can perfect it, because some people are crippled by perfectionism.
Yeah.
And some people have no idea what that is. Yeah.
Crippled by
Perfectionism. That's why I haven't put anything out in years. But I don't know. Tables coming out. That's going to be sweet. And then we
You
always
heard it here first.
we got tired of trying to do everything ourselves. So now it's like do 80, 90+% and then hand it off to someone we trust to like tie up the loose ends, mix it, master it, do whatever. Or like I'll do a part of it and let somebody else do the rest of it. Whatever makes sense to get it to the end, like to get it over the finish line and not just sitting like 95% on your hard drive for
And then we're just staring
eternity.
at the folder like,
Sad. Yeah. No momentum happening. It's just existing there. Nobody's listening to it. It's not doing anything for society or the betterment of anything. Just it's existing as a digital file on a solitary computer and one backup, two backups. I don't know. Whatever. Depends on the day. We're not perfect. We do our best.
Totally.
But Table's going to be sick, and we're going to shoot a music video for that. And that'll be like our first story music video. We're going to try to
the first music video.
we're gonna rent out a room, have a DJ in our band, maybe a friend's band come and play. And that way it's just like fun. And then we're going to shoot a video while it's empty in the morning, throw this party at night, and then get footage of everybody partying to cut into it.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to like make the most of one day with a really nice camera and a bunch of really fun people and see if we can make like August or first week of September, like a nice solid music video. And then you'll see that drop. Sees the Means will drop. That's tight. That's like heavy. You'll like it. It's fucking heavy. We were just angry. It was awesome. But
Cool.
we found, what is it? Collision. We want to try to shoot a video in Collision if they'll let us. Still working on that. But it's like a giant warehouse. So it's, whenever you want to get like loud and metal and industrially, it's kind of cool to be like in an industrial background building and have cool machinery and crap behind you to like get shots of and just like steampunk.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, Sean, Mike, thank you both for coming over. It's been
Thanks
a pleasure chatting, pleasure getting to know more about the inner workings of why the things bleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate having you on yeah. This is a Bleepy Things podcast now.
Start the bleep with
Yes,
Sean
start
and
the
Mike.
bleep with Sean and Mike. This is our guest Sykes, and I have no questions.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
It was very cool spending the most time we've ever spent together.
Yeah, totally. It's always great to actually like chat with somebody like without like having like all of my gear spread across the back room somewhere or like,
Half your
a handful of heavy shit or
Oh,
like,
hey.
yeah.
Or just in passing or anything.
Yeah,
you know?
What's up, bro? Oh.
Or just like, a bunch of noise happening in the background, It's just
A quiet room.
a quiet, controlled area to have a productive conversation with other musicians.
Wild.
Yeah. Crazy thing. It's the only reason I do this podcast, to be completely
It's
honest.
kind of beautiful. I enjoyed it.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Got to meet people. You got to network and connect and, remember that at the end of the day, you're still a human being and you need human connection.
Hell yeah.
Your art's not that important.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Even the rich people just want to drink beer and party, man. Can't live in the metaverse. Can't live in the digital realm all the time. You got to touch meat suits and
Touch grass, everyone.
go see some grass. Look at the sun. Don't stare at it though.
All right. And, well, that's it. It's been a podcast. That's the end of this episode. I don't have anything else to say. You know who I am. You know who they are. You can find them on the internet. There will be a link in the description, unless you're on Spotify or Apple or anything like that. But if you're on Spotify, just go up to the search bar and type in the Bleepy Things, and you'll probably hear some old music that they don't necessarily. I don't know if you want people to hear that.
No, there's
great.
there's
stuff
definitely
slaps.
more newer stuff on there that they can check out. But I mean, everything's on there.
All right. Cool. Well, maybe there'll be some of that new stuff too.
Absolutely.
At some point in time. You can hit the little do you follow people on Spotify? And then whenever they
If I
release
was a
music,
better musician,
it'll
business
pop
person.
up in your release radar, which is a nice thing.
That's heavy. That's some commitment. That's like almost getting married to a musician,
Get married to the Bleepy Things.
Yeah. See all of our releases forever.
And that's it. Goodbye. It's been a podcast. Peace out, Cub Scouts.